When John Miller discovered another man in bed with his wife, what followed shocked an entire community. A single act of rage turned into one of the most gruesome crime scenes detectives had ever seen. But was this a cold-blooded murder or the ultimate crime of passion? Welcome to Whispers of Crime, Motive and Murder. If you love chilling true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. It started on an ordinary evening in a quiet suburban neighborhood. John Miller, a 42-year-old construction foreman, came home earlier than usual. He had spent the day working long hours and wanted nothing more than to surprise his wife, Rachel. But the surprise waiting for him inside his own house was something he never could have imagined. As John walked to the front door, something felt wrong. The lights were dimmed, the television was off, and the air was strangely silent. But as he made his way down the hall, he heard a sound that made his stomach drop. A laugh. A laugh that didn't belong to his wife. John pushed open the bedroom door, and there it was, the betrayal no husband wants to see. His wife, Rachel, tangled in sheets with another man. In that instant, something inside John snapped. The man, later identified as Mark Thompson, scrambled to his feet, trying to gather his clothes in panic. Rachel screamed, begging John to stop, but the rage in his eyes told her there was no turning back. Mark bolted from the bed and tried to escape. John chased after him, his footsteps heavy, his breathing ragged. Neighbors later said they heard shouting, a door slamming, and then a gunshot. When detectives arrived hours later, they found Mark's body lifeless. But it wasn't the gunshot alone that made this case unforgettable. The crime scene showed a level of fury that shocked even seasoned investigators. John hadn't just killed Mark. He had unleashed his full wrath in a way so disturbing. Police reports struggled to put it into words. Detectives pieced the events together carefully. Witnesses told them John had been a devoted husband for years, the kind of man who provided for his family and rarely lost his temper. But the betrayal cut deeper than anyone could imagine. Inside the house, investigators documented evidence that showed the sheer rage behind John's actions. What happened after the shooting was not a calculated plan, but an eruption of emotions that had spiraled far out of control. Police officers at the scene described it as one of the most brutal domestic crime scenes in recent history. Every detail pointed to a man consumed not just by anger, but humiliation. When police arrested John Miller, he appeared calm, almost eerily calm. One officer said it was as if the storm had passed, and he was left in the eye of silence. He didn't resist. He didn't argue. He simply surrendered. At the station, investigators asked him why. Why not walk away? Why not leave Rachel and start over? His answer was chillingly simple. He disrespected my home. He disrespected my life. The trial that followed gripped the community. The prosecution argued that John had committed an act of cold-blooded murder. They painted him as a man who chose violence, a man who could walk away, but instead decided to destroy another person's life. But the defense told a different story. They claimed John was not a murderer by nature, but a man pushed beyond his breaking point. They called it a crime of passion, fueled not by calculation, but by raw human emotion. Experts were brought in to discuss the psychology of betrayal, rage, and humiliation. Could an otherwise ordinary man snap under the weight of infidelity? Could jealousy and dishonor really drive someone to commit an act so savage? The jury sat in silence as the details unfolded. Some jurors later admitted they struggled to sleep at night, replaying the images described in court. But here's where things get even more complicated. Rachel, the wife at the center of it all, testified against her husband. She admitted to the affair, but claimed she had begged John not to hurt Mark. Her words were cutting. He didn't just kill him. He wanted to destroy him. And I'll never forget that look in his eyes. Her testimony divided the courtroom. Some saw her as a victim, traumatized by her husband's rage. Others saw her as the spark that ignited the fire, the reason 2 lives were destroyed that night. When the verdict was finally read, the room held its breath. John Miller was found guilty of second-degree murder. The judge acknowledged the betrayal, the pain, and the humiliation, but made it clear that nothing justified the brutality of John's actions. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison. This case remains one of the most shocking examples of how betrayal can turn love into rage and rage into violence. John Miller claimed he acted in the heat of the moment, but the law saw it differently. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe John's actions were the result of uncontrollable passion, or was this a deliberate act of murder? If you were in his position, walking in to find such a betrayal, what would you have done? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe to Whispers of Crime, Motive and Murder for more chilling true crime stories that will leave you questioning just how far human emotions can push us.